We are live. Hey, how's it going? Lee Hayward here for the Total Fitness Bodybuilding video chat for Friday the 13th. Hopefully nobody's superstitious today. We're having a video chat anyway, regardless if you're superstitious or not. So welcome. And the way these video chats work is I'm going to be hanging out here for the next hour answering questions and topics of discussion related to fitness and nutrition, health and wellness, any specific challenges that you may have when it comes to building muscle, losing fat, and getting in your best shape. Feel free to type your questions and topics of discussion into our chat window, and I'll do the best that I can to help you out over the course of our video chat today. So I'm going to get a couple things organized on my end. And as you're popping onto the live stream, just let me know. Let me know that you're tuning in. Let me know that this is coming through loud and clear and that you can hear me and see me and all that good stuff. Would greatly appreciate it. And I'll get things organized on my end here. A couple questions, or a couple topics, I should say, came through within our Total Fitness Bodybuilding Facebook group recently, and I wanted to address them here because I thought they'd make some good conversation or good topics of discussion that a lot of people can probably relate to or will have to deal with at some point or another. So just a second, I'm trying to dig up those questions here. Where? Oh, there they are. Okay, gotcha. I lost my spot. There we are. So let's jump in here. Okay. Got a lot of people popping onto our live stream. Excellent. All right. So before we get into the Q&A, I just want to acknowledge folks who are here joining in live. We got Matthew joining in loud and clear. Awesome. Glad to have you joining in, Matthew. We have Lee joining in. It says it's coming through loud and clear. Welcome. Got Jason joining in. Good to see you as well, my friend. J.E. joining in. Excellent. All right. Got some questions coming through there. Nourish to Flourish coming in, South Philly. Welcome to the chat. We've got Brian joining in. Welcome. We've got Sean joining in. Who else is joining in? We've got Robert is joining in. All right, good stuff. All right, okay, I'll get into some Q&A here now very shortly. But a couple things, again, that I mentioned that I want to discuss. These were questions that came through on the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Facebook group. If you're not already a member, you can head on over to the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Facebook group. Just do a search for Lee Hayward's Total Fitness Bodybuilding on Facebook and request to join the group. Right? It's a private group. Like, you have to be request to join. And once you're in there, then you can keep that conversation going. So like, a lot of guys share their workout progress, ask questions, and share stuff throughout the week. So it's a great way to kind of bridge the gap in between these live Q&A and just to build an ongoing two-way conversation. Because I know when you're watching these live Q&A, even though you can chat in the chat window there, it's not as interactive as when you're part of our group discussions over on the Facebook group. So if you're on Facebook, I highly recommend you check it out. All right, so one question that came up just yesterday actually was from Spencer. And he was saying that he's going through a bit of a mental block with his workouts. And he says he's tired, not seeing the gains that he wants. He says his diet's been lacking, and he was really frustrated with not making the progress. And then he kind of elaborated it in the comment section there to his post, and saying, like, he was thinking like, hey, maybe I need to have a new workout routine. Like, maybe that's the problem. And then we started to dig a little bit deeper and realizing that one of the key things that's probably causing those workouts to suck and causing those food cravings to get out of control is his sleep habits have been quite poor lately. He says he's been averaging less than 5 hours a night of sleep over the past, I don't know how long this has been going on for, but he just mentioned sleep has been very poor, averaging less than 5 hours a night. And then thinking, well, what do I need to fix when it comes to the workouts and the diet and things like that? Well, you could have the best workout program, you know, the best split exercise set, rep pattern, whatever. Could be a perfect program. You could have the best diet in terms of here's your calories, here's your macros, here's your meal plan, here's everything laid out for you. If you're not getting adequate sleep, that's the weak link in the chain. That's going to shortchange everything. Sleep is critical. I know it's one of those underrated things, and you hear people say all kinds of crazy stuff like, oh, I'll sleep when I'm dead, right? I got too much stuff to do. I'm busy. I'm this, I'm that. I don't need sleep. And they almost wear it as a badge of honor to think like, hey, I get up early and I stay up late. And they're proud of it. And I'm telling you, if you're not getting adequate sleep, that is holding back your progress big time. And there's a couple things. I mean, obviously, you're not going to feel energized, and trying to temporarily band-aid it with caffeine and pre-workouts and whatever else you're putting in your body to try and artificially amplify your energy is not going to help. I mean, it could temporarily help in a short-term situation, but if this is like your long-term solution, it ain't going to work. So obviously your energy is going to suffer. Your recovery is going to suffer. Like your workouts, you're going in there and you're training on suboptimal sleep. You're not going to be able to push yourself as hard. You're not going to recover as well. So you're just kind of digging yourself into an overtraining rut, and it's going to drive your stress hormones out of whack. It's going to limit your natural production of growth hormone. It's going to hinder natural production of testosterone and all those metabolic and anabolic hormones. And it's also going to drive your food cravings up. Like if you're staying up late, you're not making good food choices when you're in a sleep deprived state. I mean, I've said this before, like nothing good gets eaten after 10 p.m. So if you're up after 10 p.m., you're probably not eating chicken and vegetables and salads and nice healthy protein and vegetable based meals. It's probably processed foods and snack foods and grabby junk foods, things that you should not be eating. And damn well you shouldn't be eating, but you do it anyway because you're sleep deprived, you're tired, and late at night, at the end of the day, you're drained physically and mentally, and your willpower's at its lowest. And it's so easy to just say, F it, I don't care. I'm going to have that cake. I'm going to have that ice cream. I'm going to have those potato chips, and I'll start again tomorrow, right? One last hurrah, one last cheat meal tonight. I'll just shovel it all in, get it all get those cravings out of the way, and I'll start again tomorrow. But then if tomorrow's you're sleep deprived and the same pattern happens again, and you find yourself, right, middle of the night, head in the refrigerator, looking around and rummaging for stuff that you shouldn't be eating, it's just a negative spiral. And it all stems from lack of sleep. So you got to start getting that under control. Now, this can be easier said than done. All right. I'm just bringing awareness to it. I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not a sleep specialist or anything like that. But there's some simple strategies that we can all start to implement. One, tapering your caffeine consumption, especially later in the day. Like for me personally, I do like to have some caffeine. I do like to have coffee, but I personally limit myself to 2 cups a day, and I try to keep them early in the day, right? So I've tapered off. Now, I do like drinking coffee. I like the taste of it. And I drink coffee not just for the caffeine side of it, but I genuinely like the taste of the bean, right? So one of the things that I do is I've switched to, well, not necessarily switched, but in addition to having regular coffee, I also get decaf coffee. And so if I want more coffee, just because I'm craving a nice hot cup of coffee, I'll very often have a decaf. So my first one of the day will be a full calf coffee. After that, if I want to have a second cup, it's going to be a decaf. And the only time that I will have another cup is if I need a little pick me up, like maybe I'm going to go to the gym and do a workout or something like that. I'll probably have my second cup of coffee for a little bit of as kind of like a pre-workout energy booster in that sense. But other than that, if I'm going to have my coffee, it's going to be a decaf. And I've made that switch, and I actually feel a lot better because of it. So my coffee consumption now is 1 to 2 cups a day. That's my limit. And the rest will be decaf coffees. Now, decaf technically has trace amounts of caffeine, but a fraction of what a regular coffee would have. So if you're a coffee drinker and you do find yourself needing to scale back, decaf coffee can certainly help. And there's a lot of good decaf coffees out there these days. It's come a long way. Some of them taste quite good. Other things that help, tapering off the electronic devices late at night. Now, with that being said, I know we probably have some people who are watching this video chat late at night. But ideally, if you want to optimize your sleep, you want to start tapering off electronic devices. So getting off your phone, getting off your computer, getting off all this stimulating blue light at least a couple hours before bedtime. Right? That's going to have a big impact to help improve your sleep quality. Making sure that your room is really dark, blackout curtains, so there's no light sneaking in. if you've got an alarm clock with that's a blinking light on it or something like that, either turn it away so you can't see it, or something. Like, you don't want any light or anything distracting you. You want a nice dark room. I mean, that's going to help to ensure that you get good quality sleep. Maybe even tapering your fluid intake a bit in the nighttime, especially if, as guys over 40, a lot of times, you got to get up in the middle of the night to do a pee. I mean, I do, but I try to taper my fluid intake a bit so that hopefully I only have to get up once. Right? I don't want to be having to get up multiple times throughout the night to pee. So that can certainly help to encourage you to have a better quality sleep. And you could also play around with pre-bedtime food. Like, some people find that they sleep better on an empty stomach. Some people like to have a light snack before they go to bed. Try both, see what works best for you. Me personally, I do like to have a light snack before I go to bed. So I'll have some protein rich food like cottage cheese, Greek yogurt. Sometimes I'll put in some protein powder with it, something along those lines. Sometimes I'll make up like a blender smoothie, ice cream with frozen berries and protein powder, and mix it up really thick. Those are some of my default options. Sometimes I'll have air pop popcorn as well to go along with it as a little extra snack if I'm feeling a bit peckish. But I usually find having something in my stomach helps me sleep better throughout the night. If I try to go to bed on an empty stomach, then I wake up in the middle of the night with my belly growling, and I find it hard to go back to sleep on an empty stomach. So that's what works for me, but you can experiment, see what works the best for you. But again, these are some strategies that may help, but bottom line, you got to get your sleep under control, because if you know for sure you're not getting enough sleep, then you're shortchanging your gains. Like, you could be training hard, eating good, taking supplements, taking whatever, like all you could be doing all the other things right. If the sleep is not there, you're going to shortchange your gains. You're not going to make the progress you should, and it's just going to hinder your overall health and fitness and mental well-being as well. So you got to get that taken care of. And if needed, even go talk to your doctor and see about, medication. Like, there's sleep aids out there. If it's really serious, sometimes you might even need to go that route as well. But this is something I would definitely recommend getting looked into if you struggle with this. And I know this is a common issue for a lot of people. Like, when I'm chatting with guys, it's rare when people say, I sleep wonderful, right? I go to bed early. I sleep like a baby. I wake up in the morning jumping out of bed, fresh and energized, and woohoo. That's, some people do. I mean, and if you do, hey, God love you, thumbs up, kudos to you. But that's the exception, not the rule. Most people are like, oh man, I don't get enough sleep and I feel exhausted in the morning, and drag their ass to the coffee pot, just to start their day, right? That's, the more common scenario right there. But again, I just want to address that. And just curious, for those of you watching this now, just type into the chat window, or do you feel you get good quality sleep? If so, just let me know. And if you feel that this is an area that you struggle with, let me know as well. It'd just be interesting to kind of get an idea of where we're at here today, what you're struggling with. What else was there? There was another topic I wanted to address. I think it was, it was another one. It's a good one too. I lost my place here now. And I think it might have been from William. I can't find the specific question off the top of my head, but I can remember it. He had a setback with his workouts, and he missed a few days of training, right? I know that. And because he missed a few days, like, he had a goal in mind where he wanted to be doing a workout routine. I think he had a goal. He was going to do like 100 push-ups a day and 100 squats a day or something like that. And he was on a roll, right? Wanted to do it for however long, like a push-up body weight squat challenge. So he was doing like 100 push-ups a day. And he ended up missing a few days because he had an injury and a setback. I think it was something to do, he had an infection in his eye or something like that. And he couldn't work out for a couple of days. And now that he's back to working out again, he's trying to make up lost time by doing extra workouts or extra sets. So like, I was supposed to do 100 push-ups a day and I missed a few days. Well, now I got to double up on the push-ups to try and get the same total volume. And that is a no-no. If you miss a workout, then just forgive, correct, continue, and resume where you left off. Don't try to double up on your training sessions to make up for lost time, because in doing that, you're going to place a lot of stress on the body, and you could very often get yourself injured in the process, which is then going to lead to a bigger setback in the future, right? It's not worth it. So if you end up missing a training session for whatever reason, due to an illness or an injury or busy, whatever happens, like, we all have stuff happen to us, right? Sometimes you just can't make it. You can't get to the gym, or you can't follow your exercise routine. That's okay, right? Just forgive, correct, continue, and then start again for the next day and just pick up where you left off. And don't try to make up for those lost workouts. Just resume your schedule where you left off. And that's the way I treat my workouts. Like, I don't have this agenda where I have to get X number of workouts in over the course of the week or over the course of the month. And if I fall short, then I'm a total F up. No, I mean, I just focus on the next workout and just focus on making that workout the best it can be. And I don't overthink it beyond that. Same with the meals. Like, if I had a cheat meal or got off track, I'm not going to try and overcompensate and say, well, I got to starve myself the next day because I ate too many calories today. No, I'm just going to pick up where I left off and resume normal eating. And this is a better and more sustainable way, because if you try and, from the nutrition side of things, oh, I overate today, I got to starve myself tomorrow. By starving yourself, you're creating that low blood sugar state. You're depleting yourself. You're not satiating your hunger and all those signals in your body. And it makes it so much easier then to binge again. So we go through this feast and famine cycle. We're starving and binging, where if you just have stable nutrition throughout the day, throughout the week, it's so much easier to keep your blood sugar under control, your appetite under control, choosing better food options. And not only that, you're going to nourish the body, provide it with the protein and the nutrients and everything that it needs so that it can build muscle and recover from your training, versus going through this feast, binging, and then feeling guilty and starving, which is what a lot of people end up doing. And that's why so many people can't stick to their quote unquote diet, is because it's too extreme, or a borderline starvation diet, and then wonder why they can't follow it long term, right? You have to be good enough, and good enough consistently. That's where that whole phrase comes from, right? Or another way of putting it, consistently good versus occasionally great. Okay. So again, those are a couple of key things that I wanted to address here, because it's common stuff that I know could benefit a lot of people. And if you're finding this helpful, then just let me know into the chat window, or smash that thumbs up button. Give this a thumbs up if this is helpful for you. And if it's not helpful, you can hit the thumbs down button. I don't care. Right? Let me know either way. All right, let's jump into some Q&A coming through here. Matthew's got the first question of the day. What are your thoughts on stomach vacuums, where you blow out your air and suck in your stomach? Does this help for abs? All right. Good question. It's not going to have a huge impact in terms of stimulating the abdominal muscles. I mean, it will to a degree. It's going to work what's known as the transverse abdominis muscles, which are basically the muscles that help to suck in the gut, right? Like, if right now, if you blow out your air and suck in your gut, you'll feel some muscles tense, but they're not like the six-pack ab muscles on the surface. They're muscles that are underneath that pull in the abdominals, the transverse abdominis. So they're muscles underneath. So by doing the vacuum, you're going to strengthen those muscles, and it's going to help to create a flatter, tighter stomach, because you're contracting and bringing those muscles in, and not just letting them relax and sag and have that distended stomach. But it's not going to burn a lot of body fat that's covering the abdominals, and it's not going to really work the rectus abdominis, the six-pack abs, those square chunks of abs that you like to see like on fitness models and bodybuilders, those abs that are on the surface. It's not going to have any impact on that directly, but it's going to help to create a narrower waistline and help to prevent that distended stomach look. And this is something that gets weak over time, because as people age and they don't focus on those areas, like they don't focus on keeping their stomach tight and under control, and they just let it sag, a lot of guys get a pot belly, even if they're lean. Like, I'm sure you probably know people in your personal life, whether it's friends, family, neighbors, coworkers, somebody, they're not overweight, but they got a belly that sticks out further than their chest, right? They could be even skinny and still have a gut, right? It's just this pot belly. And like, if you were to do like a skin fold caliper or like pinch an inch, like there's probably not even a lot of fat there. They're probably fairly thin skin and fairly lean on the surface, but they just got this big protruding belly. And a lot of that is because of weak transverse abdominis muscles where they've just been neglected, and they're always just letting their belly hang and sag out in a relaxed state and not tensing and working those muscles that help to hold the midsection in. So doing stomach vacuums is a great way to condition those muscles and to create that slimmer, tighter waistline. And you can consciously do it, or there's different ways. Like some people like to just consciously try and keep their stomach semi-tight throughout the day, which is, I think, a good habit to get into. But you can purposely do more deep stomach vacuums, and the best time to do it is on an empty stomach. Like it's kind of pointless to try and do a stomach vacuum after a meal when you got all that food in your belly. So like first thing in the morning, you can do them, or right before meals, you can do them as well when your stomach is empty, or is as empty as it's going to be. Blow out all your air, pull in your stomach as hard as you can, hold it for 10 to 20 seconds, somewhere in that range, and you can repeat that a couple times. Right? Do a couple sets of stomach vacuums before each meal, and that would be a great way to train those muscles. And the cool thing about this is, like, you can do it anywhere. Like you're at work, like I can do it now, right? Like you don't need to change into your gym clothes or schedule time. Like, oh, I got to schedule time to do my stomach vacuums. You can do it while you're driving your car, like anytime, anywhere. You can do it in your office. You can do it anywhere. Now, it probably wouldn't make sense to do it. People are, you're in a business meeting and you're talking, and all of a sudden, like you're, people think, you okay, dude? You're not having a heart attack, are you? Like, what's on the go? Right. So probably do it when you're by yourself would be ideal, but you can do stomach vacuums pretty much anytime throughout the day. And again, the best time to do it is on an empty stomach. All right, what else we got there? We have Sean's got a question. Is Creapure better than monohydrate? Creapure is a brand of creatine. It is a high quality brand. It's like a reputable brand, but it's basically just a brand of creatine. It's still creatine. Like, it's good, but is it better? Not really. I mean, if you're taking good quality creatine, regardless of the brand, it's still going to work, right? So, but if you're looking, like, I don't know how to explain it any different than that, but it's just a brand name, right? It's same as like workout equipment. Like, hey, I can go get a Rogue bench and a Rogue barbell and Rogue power rack, and yeah, that's good quality equipment. Or I can go get a generic barbell and a generic brand power rack and a generic name bench. Still, from a muscle building point of view, I'm probably still going to stimulate the same amount of muscle regardless if I'm using the name brand or a generic brand, but it's just personal preference. I mean, obviously Creapure is one of the higher end creatines, and if it is more expensive, like if you look at, you go creatine shopping, if it's labeled as Creapure, it's probably going to be significantly more expensive than if you just get the generic creatine. But from a practical point of view, as long as you're taking it consistently and you build up the creatine in your system, you're going to reap the benefits regardless. Right? So it's really just a personal preference and a money issue. I mean, if you can afford it and it's not an issue, go for the Creapure, right? Get the name brand stuff. If money's tight and you want to go a more affordable option and still get good results, you can go with the monohydrate. It's kind of like, you're at the grocery store, you see the name brand or the no name. It's a lot of times it's very similar. Sometimes it's just as good, but then every now and then, depending on what it is you're buying, like the name brand does taste better or it is better quality than the no name. But like you can still get by with both, right? It's not life or death, make or break, right? Like if I'm buying a can of tuna fish, I can get the no name tuna fish, or I can get the name brand tuna fish. Still freaking tuna fish, right? Is the quality of the protein or the quality of the tuna, is it going to make a big difference? Probably not. But if you just prefer the name brand over the no name, you can go for it that way. So that's the way you can view the Creapure versus just the regular creatine. Since it's Friday the 13th, do you have a favorite Friday the 13th movie? Jason is a legend. I've got to be honest, I've never seen the Friday the 13th movies. Now, I know about them and I've seen clippets of them on YouTube and stuff like that because it's there, but I've never actually sat down and watched the full movies. And so that's me. So I don't have a favorite, and I don't even know. I know there's a gazillion movies in that series, but I don't know. Right? I've never actually watched them. We got Robert. We've got AJ joining in. Hey guys, how's it going? Is being vegan healthy? Can't understand why people would eliminate a whole food group. We've eaten meat since the beginning of time. Vegans won't be as strong as meat eaters, generally speaking. That's opening up a can of worms, because if we have any vegans here, and I know there's at least one among us, um, can it be healthy? Yes, it can be. I mean, I think it can be healthy. Just to say, we can look at it different ways. Can it be healthy? Yes, depending on how you go about it. Can it be unhealthy? Yes, depending on how you go about it. And that applies for a mixed diet. So if you're eating meat and plant-based foods, can that be healthy? Yes, if you go about it the right way. Can it be unhealthy? Hell yes, it can be unhealthy. Right? Most people who are unhealthy, the standard American diet, as they call it, that's a mixed diet. That's plant and animal-based foods, right? And it depends what you're choosing. And I'll give you an example of how vegan cannot be healthy. Like if you go down the potato chip aisle, for example, like that's all vegan. Like there's no meat down the potato chip aisle or the cookie aisle, or like all this, the high fructose corn syrup and the hydrogenated vegetable oils. Like they're all vegan. Are they healthy? Hell no, they're not healthy. Right? Soda pop is vegan. Is it healthy? Nope. Right? Well, you can go get your Coca-Colas and your whatever, your all the different soda pops, and your fizzy drinks and your Kool-Aids and sugar drinks. And it's all vegan. Like there's no meat to be found in any of that stuff. Is it healthy? Nope. But if you choose the proper foods, it can be healthy. I personally tried vegan. I gave it an honest effort. I gave it 6 months, and I appreciate food more after doing it. And I've learned that the benefits of a vegan diet is not the lack of meat, but the abundance of vegetables, like good quality vegetables. So I personally try to have natural unprocessed meats, natural unprocessed plant-based food, and I feel that that is the best of both worlds. But I'm not going to go into the whole ethical, moral reasons. It's right. There's enough. There's enough people who go on about that. But that's my 2 cents worth, right? It can be healthy, but it can also not be healthy. Right? It really depends on the quality of the food, right? And that applies with carnivore or any of these diets, right? Like just because you eliminate a food group doesn't automatically make it healthy, right? You can still eat a lot of crap in plant-based foods, and you can eat a lot of crap in meat-based foods, right? All right, what else we got there? AJ's got a question. Thoughts on calf training? I usually train calves every time I hit the gym with weights, standing, but also at home on stairs. Do you think you can train calves every day? And if so, how many reps? Okay, another follow-up to that. I tend to do lots of reps, like 50 to about 100. Yeah, sort of. All right. Can you train calves every day? You'll probably be able to do it for a while, but this whole every single day thing, I want you to look at the bigger picture. You want to stimulate the muscle, let it rest, recover, and grow. Stimulate the muscle, let it rest, recover, and grow. You could probably do a phase of training them every day and make some good progress, but try even every other day or 3 times a week or something like that, and just see. And I'm willing to bet you would actually make better gains if you trained them every other day or 3 times a week versus every single day. Because if you're training them every single day, you're kind of shortchanging the rest, recovery, and the growth part. You're just stimulating and breaking them down day after day after day. Now, the thing with calves, they're a very tough, dense muscle group. They're used to handling a lot of volume, and they don't really stress the central nervous system to a great degree. So if you do a set of calf raises, sure, it burns and you get that lactic acid buildup in the calves, but you don't feel exhausted or drained afterwards. Like you feel the muscle fatigue, but that's it. Like if you rep out on the standing calf raise to failure, or you do barbell squats to failure, you're going to feel way more fatigue after the barbell squats. Like you're going to be gasping for air. You probably even feel lightheaded and dizzy and like, oh, almost ready to pass out if you truly repped out squats to failure. you rep out calves to failure. It's like, oh, my calves are burning. This hurts. But you're not going to pass out. Like, it's not that stressful on the body. You're not going to be gasping for air after a set of calf raises. So you can train them more frequently in that sense, but still, muscles need time to rest, recover, and grow. And this was a lesson that took me a long time to learn, and not just specific to calves, but general training. When I was younger, especially when I was in my teens and early 20s, and I had lots of free time to work out, I had a well-equipped home gym, and I got into the habit of, hey, I got to work out every day, right? Listening to Arnold Schwarzenegger say, hey, work out 4 or 5 hours a day. I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm going to work out like Arnold Schwarzenegger, work out 4 or 5 hours a day. And I did that for a while, especially when I was off school in the summertime. Like, and I had the whole summer and nothing to do, right? Like, just living at home with mom and dad, and had a well-equipped home gym. I'd spend hours down in that home gym day after day after day. And I made some gains initially, but like, I'd train my ass off, clocking in endless hours. And then at the end of the summer, it's like, I don't look any different. Like, I'm not making any progress here. Like, what's on the go? And I remember I started to talk to some more experienced bodybuilders. I started to read some literature about this. And this is around the time when Dorian Yates, became Mr. Olympia, and some of the more high intensity, lower volume training and philosophy started to come out. And I said, maybe I'm going about this all wrong. So I decided to cut back my volume. And instead of training every single day, I said, I'm going to train every other day. And I'm not going to be in there for hours on end. I'm going to have a structured workout, and more abbreviated, probably like hour and a half max every other day. And I did that. I basically cut my training frequency in half, and I probably even cut the volume in half as well. And I started to grow. I made my best gains ever by training every other day. And that was not just one specific muscle group, but all muscle groups in general. And that was a big learning, and a big aha moment for me, is that more is not necessarily better. So in your case with the calf work, doing more is probably not necessarily better. So I'd say 3 times a week, limit it to that. And whether that's at home or at the gym, depending on how often you go to the gym. I mean, if you're at the gym 3 times a week and you train calves every time you go to the gym, then boom, you got it done. But if it's less than that and you're doing some home workouts as well, okay, well, but look at the total volume. 3 times a week would be plenty, right? That's what I would recommend. And try it. Like, give it a shot for the next month or the next 6 weeks, something like that, and just compare. I mean, I personally think if you've been training them every day for a while and you're probably not happy with the results, try cutting it back to every other day or 3 times a week, and I'd be willing to bet you make better gains. But give it a shot and see how it works for you, and then let us know. Best pull-up variation to target the upper back. All of the above. Every pull-up variation is really going to target the lats, the muscles of the upper back. And when I do pull-ups, I like to do all the different variations. I don't really have a preference. Like overhand grip, underhand grip, parallel grip, or whatever weird angled grips they have. Like, you go to the gyms these days, most of them have all kinds of funky different grips. They usually either have like the straight bar and the parallel one. That's pretty standard. But you go to some, they'll have the funky angled grips. I use those as well. Use them all. Like, if you're doing multiple sets of pull-ups, just, hey, one with a overhand grip, one with an underhand grip, one with a parallel grip, one with a narrower grip, a slightly wider grip. Like, change it up, and you'll get muscle stimulation from all the different variations. You'll probably find your own personal preference there as well. Like, you might find one that you're stronger with, or that feels more comfortable for your hands and wrists and everything. If that's the case, you have a preference, you can certainly prioritize that. But all the different variations can certainly serve you. And that applies with pull downs as well. Like, you can use the wide grip, the narrow grip, the parallel grip, wide parallel, narrow parallel, underhand, narrow, wide, like all the different variations, right? They all have a place. And it's not that one is right, wrong, good or bad, better or worse. It's just hitting the muscles from different angles. And I like to change it up. And if you really want to be, dial this in, you could set keep records of each of those different variations. And so like, hey, the last time I did the V-bar pull downs or pull ups with the narrow parallel grip, this is the weight sets and reps that I use, right? Keep track of that. And then same with the wide overhand grip, keep track of your weight sets and reps for that one. And like treat each one like a separate exercise, and then focus on trying to get stronger over time, right? So you're keeping records on all the different variations you do and just try and build them all stronger. But it's not necessarily that one is better or worse, because they're all going to hit the lats and the upper back. All right, what else we got there? Andy's joining in. Welcome, Andy. Glad to have you joining us. Andy's one of our members over on the Muscle After 40 Blueprint program, making some incredible progress as well. So much respect to have you joining in. We have Ted joining us. Says, I suffer from insomnia, which makes sleep really difficult because I wake up really easy through the night. Yeah, I'm assuming you're responding to my earlier talk about sleep. And that's something, I mean, again, I'm not going to try and be give you a Band-Aid solution, because I don't know what's causing your insomnia, but maybe try some of those suggestions that I mentioned earlier. But if it's still not working, like you've tried all the standard how-to stuff that you're supposed to do, maybe talk to your doctor and see what options are available there. I mean, I know some people who have had to use sleep aids, prescription sleep aids from the doctor. And even though I'm not a huge fan of taking, medication unless it's necessary, but if it is necessary, I mean, if that helps you to get the hours of sleep that you need, it might be worth it. Certainly better than the alternative of no sleep. Yeah, so that's something to certainly look into, right? Don't put it off, right? Don't just, it's no big deal, I'll suffer through it, or no. Like if this is something that's been going on for a prolonged period of time, and it's not just a temporary thing, like we're probably all going to go through phases of some shitty sleep. Like, maybe you're going through a stressful time, whether work or family or whatever, or maybe you just became a parent and you got a newborn baby at home who's waking up every couple hours, crying, bottle feeding and diaper changing. Okay, obviously that's going to be a temporary disturbance to sleep. But if this is something that's like you really don't know what the problem is, and it's been going on for weeks or months or, God forbid, years, like, don't continue to ignore it. Get this stuff checked out, because that could lead to some that can compound to some bigger issues later on down the road. All right, Robert's joining in. Is it better to eat before a workout? For breakfast, I'll have grits, eggs before I work out. I work out about 1 hour after I eat. What you're doing, I think, is fine. Bottom line, it depends on a lot of variables here. It depends on, first off, what kind of workout are you doing? It depends on how does your body respond. And this is something you can train your body to process food depending on what it is you're trying to achieve. So for a general weight training workout, let's say you're in the gym an hour or less, it really doesn't matter that much. Assume that you're well nourished. Like if you ate well the night before and you've got topped up glycogen stores, you're still going to have glycogen in your system the next morning. You could probably go to the gym, get a good workout, still feel strong, and then come home and have your breakfast. Like, a lot of people do that. I've done it, and I've gotten great results with it and felt good with it for shorter workouts. If you're going to be doing longer workouts, then that's not going to work. And where I really come to understand the value of pre and intra workout nutrition is since I've been getting more involved with endurance sports and started doing more serious cycling. Because I always did cardio and rode my bike and stuff, but it was always short. Like for me, a bike ride was an hour or less. Cardio was usually an hour or less. So now I know some people say like, holy shit, that's a lot of cardio, an hour. What? But in the world of endurance sports, an hour is like, you're just getting warmed up. Like some people won't even get the bike out of the garage for just an hour. It's not even worth putting on my cycling kit for an hour. Like, so we have different perspectives. And once I started to get serious involved with cycling, like especially, on a weekend ride, it was common to be gone for like 5, 6 hours or more, like racking up 100+ kilometer or 100+ mile days on the bike. Like that's a standard weekend throughout the summer. So if I'm doing multiple hours, then you're not doing that on an empty stomach. You're eating before and you're eating during, and you got to keep that glycogen and that fuel topped up, because the secret to doing prolonged activity is to keep your energy topped up. So how you fuel before a workout depends on what type of workout and the duration of that workout. If it's an hour or less, you're going to have enough glycogen in your system to get through it. So if you prefer to have breakfast before and that makes you feel better and curbs your appetite, so you're not halfway through the workout with your belly growling, and hey, eat before. And right now, I've got myself conditioned. I like to eat before I work out. So I'll probably do something like you're doing, like an hour before. I'll have a good solid meal, and that tides me over and makes me feel good throughout the workout. But I have done it in a fasted state in the past and still gotten good results, right? For the shorter workouts. For the longer ones, do not do those fasted. You want to fuel, right? So it really depends on the situation there. But yeah, I mean, you can certainly make it work. From a muscle building and athletic performance point of view, I would definitely recommend eating before your workouts. And I think it's a good habit to get into, because one of the problems that I see a lot of people run into is they try and justify fasted workouts. Like, oh, I do fasted cardio, or I do fasted workouts, or I intermittent fast, or whatever. Yeah, okay, you're technically depleting your glycogen, probably burning up more stored body fat during your fasted window. But the problem with that is when you totally deplete your glycogen and you get that low blood sugar, it triggers appetite later in the day. And this is a common situation. Like, it's ironically, most overweight people are not big breakfast eaters. In fact, they very often don't eat a lot early in the day, but they eat way the hell too much later in the day. And maybe you can relate to this yourself. You probably say, like, hey, I could stand to lose a few pounds. I never eat breakfast, right? Probably have a light lunch. Well, I don't know why I'm not losing weight, because I'm, in your mind, you're justifying it by saying, hey, I'm intermittent fasting, don't eat breakfast, don't eat lunch, but still fat, don't know why. And then come evening, then you eat way too much for dinner because you're starving. After all, you haven't eaten all day. And then in the evening, you're still hungry. So you're raiding the cupboards and you're raiding the fridge for snacks. And then you're justifying it because, well, hey, I didn't eat anything all day. I deserve to have, I deserve to have that ice cream. I deserve to have those potato chips. I deserve to go back for a second helping of dinner because I didn't eat all day, right? And it's just a negative spiral. So yeah, you go fast, crash your blood sugar, spike your appetite, binge, and then start the day all over again. And the crazy thing is if you have a big, you eat way too much in the evening, you got all that food in your body and your body's breaking it down and digesting it overnight. You wake up in the morning, you're not hungry because you still got all that food from the night before. So then you go all day without eating again, blood sugar crashes, and you start the whole cycle all over again. And that's something that's very common to see people who are overweight who don't eat breakfast. And then I don't know why I can't lose weight. Like, hey, I don't eat a lot. Well, that's part of the reason why, because you want to fuel your body throughout the day. You want to nourish your body and fire up the metabolism. Like, eat more, burn more. Right. So I would actually recommend eating before the workout. If you don't, then eat immediately after. And I'll give you the caveat of where I probably wouldn't eat before the workout. Like, let's say I was getting up really early. Like, I got up at 5 a.m., hit the gym for 5:30 or something like that, did an hour of workout, and then come home and then eat my breakfast right away and then go on about my day. I've done that sometimes. Or sometimes when I'm traveling, for example, like maybe I'm out, like if I ever travel for like fitness conferences and stuff like that, and I'm staying at the hotel, I'll get up at like 5 or 6 in the morning, hit the hotel gym, do a quick workout. Then I'll go to the restaurant, have my breakfast, and then go to the conference, right? I'll usually sometimes do it that way, get in a quick fasted workout if it's really early. But most of the time, I'm having a proper meal beforehand, and I'm probably doing a longer workout as well. So, it depends on the situation. That's what I'm trying to give you different scenarios here versus just the cookie cutter yes or no answer that most people would say, right? Yes, do a fasted workout, or no, don't do a fasted workout, and leave it at that. I like to give you some context so you can make your own decision based on your situation. Random question. Do you have any phobias? None that really stand out. I mean, I can't say that I really go out of my way looking for snakes and scorpions and stuff like that, but at the same time, I don't lie awake at night fearing them. But no, none that really come to mind. No, no, but I don't know. You're going to trigger me to start thinking about shit like this now, right? After posting that question, right? You planted the seed. Right? Anyway, as of now, I don't, but we'll see, right? Next week, I probably will. Neil's back joining in. Welcome, Neil. Says, what would be your go-to exercises for glutes? I notice that when I do Romanian deadlifts, it's just my hamstrings that I feel, but not really much about the glutes. I also don't have a hip thrust machine. All right, good question. Good question. And I I actually had this conversation with one of my personal training students that I'm working with at the gym there the other day. And one of the things I've found, like over the years, like back in the day when people would be doing split routines, you'd have your chest day and your back day and your leg day and your arm day, whatever. Nowadays, when people have their split routines, especially women, right? Not so much with the guys, but especially women, especially if they're, a physique competitor, they're definitely going to have a split done up like this, where it's leg day, and then they're going to also have a glute day, right? I'm like, what? Like you have a day where you just go in and pump up your ass? Like, hey, what am I training today? I'm training my ass today. I'm working my ass off, or I'm building it bigger, build a bigger booty. But like literally, I've talked to people at the gym, like just a random chit chat, like, hey, how you doing? The water cooler talk, right? Like, hey, how you doing? What are you training today? I'm training glutes. Like what? Like you made a trip to the gym to just train your ass? But seriously, people do that now. Whereas back in the day, like leg training covered it all, because indirectly, whenever you do your legs, you're indirectly also hitting your glutes. Like if you do squats, you're indirectly hitting your glutes. You do deadlifts, you're indirectly hitting your glutes. You do lunges, indirectly hitting your glutes. So nobody did isolation, so to speak, to train their glutes. But nowadays, it's such a, it's a body part and a workout all in and of itself. Me personally, I'm kind of more of the old school. I train legs, and that indirectly hits my glutes. I'm not in there, hey, today is glute day, I'm just going to pump up my glutes, right? So it's depending on you and your situation. Now, what exercises that I do find that work the glutes? Lunges, I find really good. What else? There's one, it's called a frog hump, right? That indirectly works the glutes. I don't know. I have to do. I think. Let me just see if we go to Google and search frog hump. God knows what we're going to find here, but frog hump exercise. Let's put it that way, or frog jump. Let me just. No, it's not frog jump. Frog hump. That's the way I was taught this exercise. Frog. Yeah, it is. Oh, frog pump. My bad. Frog pump. Right, I've got to get these words right, because God knows what you're going to find if you go on Google. Right? You'll come to some adult site where people are doing things that they shouldn't be doing to poor old frogs. Yeah, actually, I'm just going to share my screen with you for a second here to show you. This is something you can do at home. It's a body weight exercise. That frog pump with a P. And again, I'm going to just move some stuff here. I'm going to hide your question. I don't know if you can see that really good, but it's like a hip thrust, but you do it with your feet open. I'm trying to get a better picture. Yeah, right here, this exercise. So your feet are open and your knees are wide, and in doing so, it really targets the buttocks. So that's a good exercise. You could add weight, like this dude here has got a dumbbell on, or that's not even a dude, that's a girl. Wow. I thought it was a dude. Or nowadays we don't know. They have a dumbbell on their hips, right? I'm just going to keep it at that. Right? Get my pronouns right, or I'm going to have people getting mad at me here. So they are doing it that way. And here's another guy. Again, they are doing it that way. Right? So that, just do a search for that frog pump. I was calling it a hump, but be careful, because God knows what you'll find if you search for that. But there. All right, so that's one that you could try. Again, that was for Neil, looking for a glute exercise. You could do that at the gym, or you could do it at home. Another thing you can do, just if you really want to get that mind muscle connection in your glutes, like you can just literally flex and squeeze your glutes, like stand up and squeeze them and hold it in a static contraction, relax, hold it in a static contraction. Do that kind of like as a pre-activation before you do your deadlifts, before you do your squats, before you do your lunges or whatever else you're doing. And by doing that, you're going to get more mind muscle connection in that area. It's almost like if you're trying to train your biceps and you just flex your biceps hard, right? You really squeeze, and you do that, like do some isometric contractions and just squeeze and flex. And then you go do a set of bicep curls, like, holy shit, now I'm really feeling my biceps. Same with the chest. Like you start hitting most muscular poses and flexing your pecs, and then you go do a set of bench press, like, okay, now I really feel my pecs. So you can actually do that strategy as well, kind of getting that isometric contractions for any body part that you're really trying to isolate. I used to do that back when I was competing in bodybuilding. If there's any stubborn body parts, flexing them in between sets, great way to add to the workout and really enhance that mind muscle connection. So that's something you could try as well. But there's a lot. If you have the inner outer thigh machines at the gym, especially the outer thigh machine, that's definitely going to work the glutes more, of the not the gluteus maximus, but the gluteus medius, like the outer hip area. That's a good one. What else? Deep squats I find really good, like ass to the floor squats. If you have to, even just doing high rep body weight squats. Another one that's really good for the glutes, doing leg presses with your feet high and wide on the foot plate. So if you have a big foot plate on your leg press machine, don't go in the middle, or keep your feet kind of balanced and averaged on the foot plate. Like go high and wide, right up in the corners. And this is going to activate more of the glutes as well as the hamstrings, right? So you can try that as well. But those, like there's ways to activate it. And of course, if you have different kickback machines at the gym, what are some other ones? Hyperextensions or reverse hyperextensions. If you have a reverse hyper, that's definitely good for the glutes. We've got a reverse hyper machine at Omega Health and Fitness that I train at. Not many people use it, but it's a freaking good exercise. It's a hard exercise, and whenever I do it, my glutes get pumped. Right, so it's good for the lower back, the glutes, and the hamstrings. But I really feel that peak contraction in the glutes when I do the reverse hyper. So if you have access to that one, by all means use it. You may or may not. Like, it's not a really popular exercise. It's kind of like a more of a specialty exercise in more, bodybuilder or powerlifter gyms. You'll probably see that in there, but your general gym, you may not. What other ones I'm thinking of? Step ups, things like that, especially if you have a high step where you really pre-stretch in the bottom. That's another good one. There's a lot of different ones, right? But those are some that, that come to mind for me. Now, again, you could try going online yourself and then just search, like, especially if you search for like female fitness, because again, as I mentioned earlier, like the ladies these days, glute day is, for them, glute day is just as important as chest day is for guys. Like we have International Chest Day for men. Well, the women got International Glute Day, right? So maybe Monday is ass day for every woman out there. I don't know, but give that a shot, right? That's what I'd recommend. Follow some female fitness influencers, and they probably got a gazillion different glute exercises, and try them out and see what ones work for you, right? And then, in a few weeks' time, right, we'll have a chat sometime in 2025, and Neil will be having an arse on him like a shelf, right? I'll be able to lay me coffee cup on the back of your back of your butt there, and it'll balance up. Who else we got joining in? Let's see. Where am I to? Lose me space. TS, appreciate the support, my friend. Thank you. Said, I did squats last night. Now eating a steak and chips and salad. There you go, my friend. Enjoy. And again, thank you for your support. Much appreciated. All right, certainly helps. All right, let's get back on board here. Now, where was I? I lost my spot in the... we had Neil talking about the glutes. Who else we got there? Thunder Lord. Looking fresh, fit, and moisturized and monetized. Moisturized and monetized. That's the first time I've ever referred to that one, but cheers, my friend. Thank you. I have certainly had people say worse. But I'm feeling very moisturized and monetized today. Joe H. Sometimes I'm just craving the taste of coffee. I suspect a lot of low T men can greatly be benefited by more sleep, but it depends. I struggle with quality sleep. Gotcha. Yeah. Just, I guess, comments about the stuff that I was talking about earlier. But yeah, um, as far as the whole testosterone issue, I mean, that may have an issue, right? I mean, but sleep is a complicated thing. It's hard to just pinpoint and say, well, this is what's causing your sleep. Like, hey, it's because you have low testosterone or because you have high testosterone or like there's so many things that can impact sleep, right? I mean, that may be an issue, but again, if this is something that's serious, you've got to get it checked out. And kind of like sometimes it can be tedious to figure out all the different things, but you want to cross off the obvious ones. Like, hey, are you consuming caffeine, especially later in the evenings? Are you still on your computer or your phone right up until you go to bed? Like that's a habit that you should stop because you're stimulating your brain with all that stuff, and then you expect that okay, scroll. Okay, put the phone down, go sleep. Probably not going to happen, right? You need time to unwind. Even dimming the lights. Like one thing that I've suggested to a lot of my coaching students, and that you might find helpful, set a bedtime alarm. Like a lot of us probably have alarms to tell us when to get up, but have an alarm to tell you when to start getting ready for bed. And ideally set it an hour before you want to go to bed. So just for an example, let's say you want to be in the bed by 10 p.m. Set your alarm to go off at 9. So then when 9 o'clock comes, okay, I'm going to turn off my computer. I'm going to turn off the telly. I'm going to turn off my phone, like everything, all the electronic devices. I'm going to dim the lights, do whatever you have to do. Like get yourself a hot bath or a shower, brush your teeth, get your clothes ready or whatever stuff you got to do for your nighttime routine. Start that nighttime routine an hour before you want to be in bed so that by the time 10 p.m. rolls around, you're actually in the bed under the covers, ready to relax and fall asleep. So start that ritual, that routine earlier and have something to trigger it. I find like that helps a lot. And I've kind of built in my own bedtime routine and ritual because in our situation now, we follow our sleep habits after Harvey. Like my son, he's 8 years old, so we try to get him to bed around 8:30. That's usually his time for bed. Doesn't always work out that way, but we try there. But once he's in bed, then I start my bedtime routine. So then I'm usually in bed by 10 p.m. Right? That's what I strive to do. So I mirror my sleep habits off his. And I found that's helped me a lot because before he came along, I was a night owl. Like sometimes I wouldn't turn on till midnight. And then I could be working away till 2 or 3 in the morning. Like that was common for me back in the early days. I used to do that. And then I'd sometimes sleep in the daytime. In my schedule allowed for it, but I didn't feel optimized. I feel much better when I go to bed earlier and I get up earlier. I find that just works much better for my circadian rhythm and I feel better because of it. And maybe just because I'm older, I want to get to bed earlier. All right, where else are we to? Brian's joining in. He says, if I get less than 7 hours of sleep, I don't feel great. I hear you. That's a good number to shoot for. Like that's kind of a sweet spot for a lot of people. For me, like 6 is the threshold. If I can get 6 hours of sleep, I can usually function okay the next day. 7, I feel better. 8, or I feel great, But 6 is kind of like, yeah. If I get less than 6, I'm not going to push myself hard the next day in the gym or anything like that. It's going to be like an active recovery deload day because it's just like, the batteries aren't charged and I don't feel strong if I get less than 6 hours of sleep. But 7 plus, yeah, I'm good to go. That's optimized right there. That's fully charging the battery at that. Matthew saying, I have the ability to fall asleep, but I can't stay asleep, and I wake up too early, and I don't get sleepy again until it's time for me to need to get up. Interesting. I wonder what. I mean, again, there's a lot of stuff to unpack or just dissect with that, but what could that be? Like, are you waking up feeling hungry and the belly is growling? Right, that's something. That sometimes happens to me, and if that happens, like I wake up in the middle of the night and I am hungry, I will get a little snack, and I find that it usually helps me to go back to sleep versus lying there and the belly is growling and I'm just thinking about my gut. I had to do that last night. Like I literally woke up and I was thinking, no, I don't want a snack. I don't want a snack. I want to try and keep my calories low and all this. And I was tossing and turning for better part of an hour. And I said, I can't sleep. So I got up and I had a glass of water and a protein bar. And then that just took the edge off my hunger. And I went back and slept happy. So if my belly's happy, I'm usually happy. So that might be something to consider as well. All right. Again, if my belly's on empty, I don't sleep well. What else got there? If you can get up early as heck and work out early in the early morning, you'll pass out quick at night. You know what? I think there's some truth to that as well. You get your workout done earlier, kind of kickstarts that whole day. This is another thing I should mention. For those of you who, if you're working out later in the day, that may be hindering your sleep because it's hard to, like, you go to the gym. God forbid you're also taking a pre-workout before you go to the gym. So let's say like you're doing a late night workout and then you have a pre-workout. So you're caffeinated before you go. Then you're all stimulated at the gym with the music and the lights and the workout itself and everything. And you're all amped up. And then you come home, like you just don't turn it off like a light switch. Like it's going to take you a couple hours to unwind after that. So if you can dial back the workouts earlier in the day, that's going to help you to relax more in the evening. And I can certainly attest to that. Sometimes I do still, due to schedules or whatever, I sometimes work out later, but I find that if I work out later, then it kind of sets my bedtime back later as well. Whereas if I can work out early, it helps to kickstart that whole process and the bedtime is early. So yeah, that's a good point for sure. Let's see what else we got there. Marcus, tell me to carry on. Will do. Who else? Neil saying, aging sucks and I have old and scrawny neighbors and I don't want to look like them. They're frail. Is there any way to maximally reduce muscle mass? Muscle loss. I was there, reduce muscle mass? No, reduce muscle loss on senior years. Yeah, so the whole thing you're talking about there is known as sarcopenia. It's a fancy word for age-related muscle loss. Yes, as you get older, people are just naturally going to lose some fitness, lose some muscle and everything else. However, this is greatly accelerated not just by growing old, but the habits that people acquire as they grow old. Because generally, as people grow older, there's two key things that they do less of. They do less physical activity, so they're not placing as much stress and demands on their body to build and maintain muscle tissue. And two, they tend to eat less protein. And a lot of people think, well, I'm an old man or I'm an old woman. Like, what do I need to eat protein for? Right? I'm not trying to be a bodybuilder. Or like, and they eat like bread and tea, and tea and biscuits and stuff like that. Like that was my, God love her, my grandmother, actually two of my grandmothers before they passed on. Like that was a typical meal. Like get up in the morning, have a cup of tea and maybe a slice of toast. Right. And then for lunch, well, I'm going to have tea and biscuits for lunch and just little crackers and crap, but there was no substance. Like there was, where's the protein, Granny? Not there. Maybe they'd have a little piece of meat or something for dinner, and that was it. The older you get, the more protein you need. It's actually the opposite the way most people think, because a lot of people think, well, I'm old, I don't need protein anymore. Bullshit. The older you get, the more protein you need because your body doesn't utilize it as efficiently, and you actually need to consume more. So like a younger person can get away with less protein because they have their optimal digestion, the digestive enzymes, like they can get maximum utilization from the protein that they do eat. So if they're not eating a gram of protein per pound of lean mass a day, they can probably still get away and maximize muscle growth. But as you get older, you want that gram of protein per pound of lean mass or even more to prevent muscle loss and to allow your body to be able to utilize that protein because it's not as efficient the older you get. So sometimes you need more to make sure that you're actually utilizing it and getting the most benefit from it. And I've seen this with some of my senior coaching students. The ones who are actually making gains into their 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond, they're eating high protein diets, like well over a gram of protein per pound of body weight per day. I mean, if I shared some of the numbers, it would probably shock you that I've seen guys eat, but it works. The more protein they eat, the more consistent they are with it, and not just having like one big protein meal with dinner, but like breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks in between, like literally 5 high protein meals spaced out throughout the day. They're making good gains, right? The guys who are keeping that protein intake high. The guys who aren't, they're struggling. Like that's a key variable, and it's such a simple variable. Like everybody knows this. Like everybody who's in the fitness space understands this, but very few people actually apply it. Like I know so many guys, like they work out, they go to the gym, they do all that, but I don't get enough protein. Like they're not even getting a gram of protein per pound of lean mass per day. Like they're struggling to get 100 grams of protein in when they should be getting 200 plus grams of protein in. So you have to optimize that. And if you do that, you're going to avoid becoming the skinny, frail senior. That's one of the key variables. So strength training and protein. If you focus on that, that'll keep your muscle as you age. If you want more information about that, just go check out the Total Fitness Bodybuilding podcast. There's a couple episodes there. There's one for over 60, like building muscle after 60 or whatever. I can't remember the exact title, but scroll through the podcast. The link is right on the main YouTube channel. You can scroll through there. Some of my senior coaching students are in there, and they just share what they're doing, and guys are getting in their best shape, like literally in their 60s. And one guy we have, that's one of our regular members, Paul Miller. He just turned 70 this year. Literally, he's in the best shape of his life. And this tomorrow actually, he's going to be competing on the bodybuilding stage, doing his first ever bodybuilding competition as a novice competitor at 70 years old, right? It's like he only started working out at 62, and now at 70, he's going to be hitting the stage tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to, I can't wait to chat to him afterwards and just see how things go. But I mean, it's exciting to see, right? So yeah, that's happening tomorrow. So it's still possible to build muscle if you follow the proper approach, right? The proper lifestyle habits, proper nutrition habits, all this, right? Because again, most of the age-related muscle loss, yes, sure, father time is there. Like nobody can defeat father time. Like he's gonna win overall, but we can minimize the damage by doing what we have control over. We have control over what we eat. We have control over what we do. We have control over our habits, you know, whether or not you're drinking alcohol, whether or not you're nourishing your body, whether you're getting adequate sleep. Like we can control all that stuff. We can control our exercise. Don't play the victim. Like, oh, I'm too old, poor me, and not even try. Like that's where most people fail. It's not that they fail because they quit. Like I actually made a post on Facebook about that. Like the reason most people fail is they quit on themselves. Like that's the reason. It's not that they can't do it. It's just they threw in the towel. They didn't even put up a fight, right? They just quit before they did. They probably gave it a half-ass effort. No, this isn't easy. I quit. I'm going to tell you up front, it's not going to be easy, but as long as you refuse to quit and you keep pushing forward, despite the challenges, despite the obstacles, despite your so-called lack of progress, despite the frustrations, you keep pushing forward, eventually you're going to make progress. Eventually you are going to see some results in and succeed. But if you give up because, oh, it's not happening fast enough, oh, it's too hard, insert excuse or reason. The only reason you fail is if you fail on yourself, right? That's what I'm getting at. Where are we to? I lost my spot here. AJ, all right, there we go. Thoughts on push-ups when you've been lifting for a while? Do you feel like there's much to it, especially during off recovery days? How many days would you recommend? I go to gym 3 to 4 times a week. Push-ups are a great exercise, and the more advanced you are, they're still better. In fact, I think that they become more effective the more advanced you are, because you can get more muscle activation. You can do more push-ups. You can actually get more benefit from them. Beginners very often struggle with push-ups because it's a hard exercise. Like with a push-up, you're lifting approximately 60% of your body weight, depending on the variation and the position, but somewhere in that ballpark. And for a lot of beginners, they can't do high repetitions with that much resistance. So the more advanced you are, the more muscle you build, and the more effective push-ups become. Right. So it's a great exercise, whether you want to do it with your chest workouts or your upper body workouts, however you've got your workouts routine structured. But I still do them on a regular basis. And similar to what I mentioned with the calves, you don't want to overkill it. Like, you still want to allow the adequate rest, recovery, and growth. So if you're hitting the gym 3 to 4 times a week, like, make those 3 to 4 times a week productive. Like, go in there, stimulate, train in a progressive overload fashion, really put some good muscle stimulation, then let it rest, recover, and grow, and then go back and do it over again. Don't go doing like these half-ass workouts, but watering them down. Like, I train every single day, right? And you're always stimulating, but you're never allowing that full rest, recovery, and growth process. That can sometimes shortchange your progress, right? Now, with that being said, anything you do is better than nothing. So, hey, even if you're doing a half-ass workout every day, that's better than no workout. But if you want to optimize it, I'd say, like, go in there, give it a good, hard, honest effort 3 to 4 times a week, and then let the rest, recovery, and growth happen on those off days. And if you want to do some extra exercise on those off days, that's when you can do your low intensity cardio or do some extra stretching or something along those lines. But I wouldn't go trying to do strength training more than 3 to 4 days a week. Like, that's kind of the 4 days a week is the upper limit for most. All right, Sean is joining in. Said, I started TRT and HRT. You can kind of say them all HRT, but I know what you mean. A few weeks ago, and I definitely feel the effects. I've gained 6 pounds over the past 3 weeks. I've read that water retention is normal for the first month or so after starting TRT. What has been your experience with your coaching students who are on HRT? That's pretty normal. And what's happening is, when you have the testosterone, so you went from low testosterone now to higher testosterone or optimal testosterone, right? We got to use the terms correctly, because in the world of bodybuilding, high testosterone, as in the recreational testosterone, is extremely high. Like, it's off the charts, off the scale. If you're looking at hormone replacement therapy dosages and bodybuilder dosages, they're not even in the same universe. Like, 10x, like, bodybuilder dosages are 10x what HRT dosages are. So you're not high, you're in optimal range. And that's the whole idea of doing it through a doctor, doing it through a proper HRT, is because they're going to prevent it from getting too high, right? They're going to keep things under control. And that's where things get out of whack, like the hormones and when things are extremely high, then your body's going to probably convert some of that excess testosterone into estrogen. And then you get the estrogen side effects, the man boobs and the bitch tits, whatever you want to call them, right? The gynecomastia, the excess water retention, the pimply back and the pizza face and all this stuff, the extreme acne, and all that's when things are way out of control. But if you're doing so with moderate amounts under doctor supervision and keeping it under control, the risk of that happening is slim to none. And if you do start to see any of those side effects, then they adjust it. They'll scale back your dosages, or they'll give you, some auxiliary medication, like maybe some anti-estrogen medication to control it, to prevent anything from getting too out of whack. So kudos to you for doing it that way. As far as the water retention, that's quite normal, because now you're putting your hormones back into perspective. That's going to normalize. Like, that 6 pounds, you're probably not going to gain any more than that. And in fact, you may even lose a little bit of that once your body stabilizes and this becomes like the new norm. It's that initial reaction where you went from low testosterone to now optimal. It's like, oh, the body's just going to kind of like balloon up a little bit. But once that becomes the new norm, that'll probably stabilize. And yeah, you'll be a couple pounds or a few pounds heavier than normal, but it's not going to like continue to grow. It's not like, in another 3 weeks, okay, you're going to be up 12 pounds. And in another 3 weeks, you're going to be up 18 pounds. And like, it's not going to keep going up. It's just, this is going to stabilize. All right. But then what you should feel is, actually, you're not going to feel much. Like, that's the thing with testosterone replacement therapy and hormone replacement therapy. You don't necessarily feel it. It's not like a caffeine pre-workout or something. Oh, ooh, I can feel it kicking in. No, but what you are going to notice is, you're just not going to be as tired. You're probably going to recover faster from the workouts. like things are just going to function better. But you're not really going to feel it. Like you don't feel any different from day to day. Like you're not going to, you probably wake up in the morning, with your morning wood. That'd be a good sign, that's a noticeable thing you may find, but it's not going to be it's not like a stimulant effect. That's what I'm getting at. Like, for example, like if you have a big strong cup of coffee, or you have a energy drink or a pre-workout or whatever, like you feel the stimulant effect. Hormones are not like that. Like you're not really going to feel anything, but all the work you put in, your training, your nutrition, and everything else, you're just going to get better results from the work you put in. And because that's no longer a weak link, right? The hormones are now optimized. So now the body can function and rebuild and recover and do all the things that it needs to do and optimize protein synthesis the way it needs to do, as if you have healthy hormone levels. It's going to basically go back to similar to what it was when you were a young, healthy man with normal hormone levels. Like that's why young guys, as long as they eat properly and they train consistently and they get adequate sleep, they grow, right? Like as long as you do the right things and you do the right things consistently, young guys are going to grow, right? They're going to build muscle. They're going to get leaner. Like the reason why they don't make progress is because they're probably not consistent, cheating on their diet, skipping workouts, staying up late, whatever. Like it's pretty obvious when people don't make progress or they're overtraining. That's another side. Like sometimes you see people push too hard and then overtrain. But as long as you do the right things and you do the right things consistently, for young people, they grow because everything is working the way it's supposed to. Hormones are on check. The rest and recovery is on check. The body's working the way it's supposed to in terms of digestion and protein synthesis and all these things, because the body just works properly and it responds. As you get older, sometimes we need a little bit of help for that, right? Get the hormones back to normal levels again. We're actually going to clue this up. I've been, as we get going with the chat, I get the gift of gab here sometimes, and we're way over the hour. Holy smokes. It's almost a hour, 17 minutes in. Where does the time go? All right, guys. Well, thanks so much for tuning in, and thanks for submitting your questions. I know there's still a lot of questions still to come, but tell you what, if you do want to reach out to me, you can send me an email or message me through Facebook if I did not get to your question, and you can drop me a private message or an email, and we can continue our conversation that way. Or if you want, you can join us over on the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Facebook group and post your question there, and I'll chime in, and you probably also get some feedback from some of the other guys who are part of the group as well. All right. Well, I'm going to get ready and clue it up. Have yourself a fantastic weekend, and I look forward to chatting to you either through email or messenger or through next week's live video Q&A. Have yourself a good one. Take care. Over and out.